It was all pomp and ceremony as fighter jets escorted Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman into Pakistani airspace. His visit comes as Pakistan reaches out to friends and allies for financial support. And the Crown Prince didn't disappoint, signing several agreements worth billions of dollars.
We believe the amount of that kind of investment is 20 billion US dollar. It's big for phase one. And definitely it's gonna grow every month, every year in bigger numbers, and it will be beneficial for both countries.
Of this amount, $10 billion will be spent on a new oil refinery in the western province of Balochistan. Saudi state-owned companies also plan to invest another $10 billion in mining and agriculture. These deals follow a $6 billion loan Riyadh gave to Islamabad back in October. Prime Minister Imran Khan took the opportunity to ask for leniency for Pakistani prisoners being held in Saudi jails.
There are some 3,000 prisoners there, and we just would like you to bear in mind that they have poor people who have left their families behind. Sometimes they face hardships, and we would like you to look upon them as your own people.
Bin Salman responded by ordering the release of more than 2,000 prisoners. The kingdom's also slashing visa fees by 80% and easing immigration procedures. More than 1.5 million Pakistanis live in Saudi Arabia, and these steps could encourage even more people to look for jobs in the kingdom. That could help Islamabad raise more funds from foreign workers as it tries to revive the economy. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
And Mobin joins me here in the studio now for more on this. Hi, Mobin. So we're talking a huge amount here. It was double what was originally estimated, but these are largely memorandums of understanding, aren't they? So they're not binding. Do you think the Saudi Crown Prince will actually pay up when it comes to it?
Well, I think regardless of whether or not this will take time, even if we don't doubt the intention, it will definitely take time. Look, these kind of approvals for the kind of land that they need, solar projects, wind projects, oil refineries, these are all projects that need a lot of land and a lot of permissions from different parts of the government. So you're talking a timeline of at least a couple of years. But I think what's more significant here is perhaps the money that has already arrived, that $6 billion that we spoke about last year. Of course, the last $1 billion of that tranche will be arriving at some point this month. And then, of course, it's a vote of confidence, isn't it? The government's been very keen on trying to present Pakistan as ripe for investment right now. And this visit by a friendly country, and it's saying that they expect the economy to grow into what among the world's 20 biggest by 2030. So really it's the kind of endorsement that the government was looking for.
Pakistan is very much a friendly country with Saudi Arabia, isn't it? It was one of the few countries that attended the so-called Davos in the desert so soon after the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Is this sort of a payment in kind in response to that, perhaps?
Yeah, perhaps it could be seen as such. Of course, it's easy to sort of overstate that, considering that Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have really always been the best of allies, and that's a relationship that seems to have persevered. Of course, at that time when the Pakistani finance minister, you may recall, was asked about showing up in that event so soon after that tragedy took place, he had also sort of looked to brush it aside, pinned it on bigger, larger economies on the Western world, and sort of asked them to sort of share their, sort of put their sort of morals on a pedestal before they sort of do it for others. So I think in Pakistan's case right now, really what they need is funding, and they'll take it from anywhere, they're going to get it. And perhaps what's been encouraging for the government so far is that they've been able to sort of play that very dicey situation in the Middle East very well, to the extent that they've gotten support not just from the Saudis but also from the UAE and from Qatar.
We had some smaller scale announcements, or what seemed to be smaller scale announcements, and that was the cutting of visa fees and the easing of travel restrictions. How significant are those measures, and how might they impact everyday Pakistanis?
I think that those, although those they won't add up to $20 billion, but certainly from the immediate reaction, first of all, that we saw in Pakistan on social media, across television channels, everyone was very happy about those, and I think that kind of plays into that sentimental value of being able to go to perform pilgrimage there. That really sort of, was a low-hanging fruit for the Saudi government also to win hearts and minds in Pakistan, but also for Pakistan, because it's a very quick way of boosting remittances. Look, we know that Pakistan makes about as much in remittances as it does in exports, and the biggest chunk of that comes from Saudi Arabia. So definitely this, although may not have a very large impact, it will have an immediate impact.
As you mentioned in your story, Pakistan's economy really is in a bad way, isn't it? The rupee has plunged 20% in the past year. Foreign reserves are dwindling. Did Saudi just give Pakistan a lifeline here to help it avert an economic crisis?
Look, I think Pakistan's done pretty well in terms of gathering finances from not just Saudi Arabia, but from other countries as well. But it's what you do with that money that counts at the end of the day, right? This money is depleting as quickly as it's coming in. Even now, we see Pakistan's foreign exchange reserves are under $8 billion. That's barely enough to get through the next few weeks. And until the government can really start putting through those painful reforms, which it's high time, I suppose. They're nearly 2 years into government. They're going to be, more than a year into government. So unless they can start bringing in those reforms that really boost revenue, start collecting taxes, start cutting subsidies, they're really going to be delaying the inevitable.
And those reforms that you mentioned, they're really part of what the IMF has been pushing for as well in order for them to deliver some sort of a bailout to Pakistan. Do you think the IMF is still quite a significant part of Pakistan's recovery?
It has to be, right? And even if Pakistan decides to somehow avoid the IMF, look, the prescription for the ailment is exactly the same. It doesn't matter which doctor they go to. It could be the IMF, it could be the Islamic Development Bank, it could be any other lender, but essentially Pakistan needs to be able to generate more money than its government spends, and so far successive governments have failed to do that.
Okay, Mobin Nasir, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you for your analysis as always.